Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm the founder of Contractor Staffing Source, and we help contractors build great teams. Today, I have PWSC, which is a guest, and it's Becky Kingler and Lindsay Tingler. And you guys want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell people what PWSC actually does?
Sure. Go ahead, Becky.
I'm Becky Kingler. I work with PWSC. I'm an accounts manager. We do structural warranties, builder's risk, and Lindsay, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Becky. My name is Lindsay Tingler. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at PWSC. Been here about 4 years and watched us. It's been an exciting time here to see us evolve. From the warranty company we've been for home builders for the last 30 years to a company offering a wide variety of services, insurance services for not just home builders, but also property managers, renovation, remodelers, trade artisan contractors, commercial builders, you name it. So it's been a really exciting time for us.
Okay, so Lindsay, can you explain exactly, builder's risk insurance, all those kind, because I think a lot of the audience are confused what all those are. And say you're talking to a small builder builds 4,000 or 5,000 a year, or even a remodeling contractor, where does that apply to them?
Sure. Essentially, in like the simplest terms, you think of builder's risk as the property insurance that is placed while a home or building is under construction. So it's not covering just the usual things that a homeowner's insurance policy covers for property. It's also those additional perils that come from having a project underway. So it's, for example, sitting empty more often. It may be more likely to get damaged during the build if it's not complete, if there's a major storm or something like that. So there's just additional components of that builder's risk coverage that are in place until the time it's complete, and then you switch to a usual regular property policy.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you sort of a funny scenario. Say it's under builder's risk insurance, and an employee trips and falls, hurts himself. It's sort of workman's comp, but the house gets damaged because he knocks him whatever over, and the owner's there, and the owner gets hurt. I mean, so is it workman's comp? Is it builder's risk? How does all that mix?
Those are typically going to be liability claims. When you have bodily injury and property damage in that world, that's a general liability component that we can also help with. Builder's risk is your vandalism, your theft, your hurricanes, your floods, your wildfires, that sort of thing, the true property coverage. It is important to note that builder's risk is required by virtually all construction lenders. So if you are a home builder or remodeler or whatnot, and you're using financing, you are probably familiar at least with finding your builder's risk coverage, but you may not know what to look for in that policy to make sure you have a good one.
So what should they look for in the policy to make sure they have a good one?
There's several things. One is one just looking for what's excluded with the increase in natural disasters across the country, whether it's wildfires in California or hurricanes in Florida, hail in Texas in the middle. At each year, as underwriters look at, okay, how do we protect our program? They get a little bit thinner with that coverage. So you have to look for okay, is there an exclusion, or is there a different higher deductible for this type of claim? So looking for what's removed from the policy is certainly important. In builder's risk, water intrusion and freezing exclusions are common ones that get overlooked. We would not recommend a policy that includes those. Ours does not. And some of the carriers that are biggest in the northern states where you have the most freezing will exclude those frozen pipes and whatnot. And it's a big driver of claims. You may find that homes that sit empty or buildings that sit empty before closing more than a certain amount of time will be excluded. With builder's risk, the risk goes up. as the construction continues because the value of
Oh,
what's
still-
sitting there is
right.
higher and higher. So if you have a model home or homes in inventory that have not yet sold, sometimes those are excluded. Where you want to find coverage that has that homes in inventory component. So I would say sit down with your agent, contact PWSC. We're happy to do policy reviews and really look at those terms and exclusions for coverage.
Because my guess, most of these people listening to the podcast sort of don't know what they don't know, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's like in California with all the fires, isn't it hard to get builder's risk now?
it can be certainly. If you're doing a wood frame construction project, it's going to be more difficult. Limits are lower sometimes. Carriers have exited the market or rates have certainly gone up. Another sort of characteristic of builder's risk insurance and how it comes about because it's required, gung-ho and don't know is a perfect way to put it. You've got to get the builder's risk to close on the loan. Everything can be time sensitive. And there's a lot of policies out there that you can go online and just get a quote and say, yeah, that'll work. Here's my proof of insurance. And in the moment, it checked off the box. But if something actually happens, there wasn't a lot of thought that went into, okay, do I have a program that's really going to protect me? And we can still move very quickly on those quotes, but taking a little extra time and due diligence, even if it's once annually to say, who am I going to place my programs with this year, to make sure that you also know what coverage you have if you need it, can save a lot of heartache in the
It's
future.
sort of like trying to find a girlfriend on the internet. I'm not sure it's the best thing, right? So, so the picture may not be what you get. Right? So I'm just kidding. So, so when they say this covers everything, who knows what, because I'm thinking a lot of people might go on the internet just because it's quick and easy. And it might
Exactly.
be the best solution because they may not know what they're actually getting until it doesn't pay something, right?
Right. If a policy is easy, that quick and easy to place, and there's no conversation required, they're able to do that because they're offering a risk that's very safe for them as the insurer.
Insurance they won't ever have to pay. Now, what about if you're a contractor, you sort of may not, you go to your local agency, your farmers, I mean, you know, whatever agency you've got, right? Your car insurance guy or doing your homeowner's insurance. Do they know how to do this or is it a specialty?
Look, I mean, you know, we see a mix of agents across the country. We work with agents all over the country. So we are positioned to offer insurance directly to a contractor or to broker it to their agent that they already work with. And so we know that there's great ones out there who do happen to have enough construction business to really understand and specialize in this stuff. We typically would not recommend that an insurance generalist provide a thorough review of a contractor's insurance program, because there are so many specific risks in the construction world, from that breaking ground and the builder's risk component we've talked about, up through after they close on a project and have completed operations exposures. There's just a lot more to think about in our industry than insurance for other industries. We would recommend at least starting with a specialist like PWSC. It doesn't mean that their own agent couldn't still play a role in that, though.
Do they pay the same or they buy it through you or through their agent?
Yes.
Okay. So they should at least, my thought is that a generalist is not, in general, no pun intended, is not going to know a lot about builder's risk because they do car insurance and home insurance and everything, right? And so builder's risk is not something they're going to specialize in. It's just, they're going to, you know, here's a builder's risk insurance. So how do you review builder's risk insurance? Just get someone like you to go over it? Because I don't think, if I'm looking and I'm a builder, I'm looking at builder's risk insurance policy, I have no clue what it probably says. It's like 20 pages of small print and I don't know what it means.
Exactly. If it's 20 pages, you're lucky. It's probably more like 80. So we want to help with that. We look at these things all the time. We understand some of the, you know, just the different ways even that it's priced. You see a rate and it's not always apples to apples on if it's based on a per 100 or per 1,000 of construction cost or total insurable value. So there's different factors. Is it refundable? If you finish the project early and you don't need insurance for a year, you only used it for 9 months, do you get some money back? Some programs give you money back, some don't. So there's a lot to look at, and we know how to do that. If I was building a home and someone handed me plans and said, "Are you good with this?" I would not know. I would want one of these construction experts to review those details for me, and I'd want their expertise. And that's what we expect to be able to do on the insurance and risk end for our customers.
Okay. Now, how much does builder's risk vary in cost? Is it like, if you're building, I don't know, pick a number, $1 million house, is it vary a lot between insurance companies? And the risk vary the same?
It can certainly vary between insurance companies. Typically though, what you see is it's kind of the offering. It will, what's the deductible, what's the coverage, and if you go back and have a company adjust on those things, if they're willing to offer that, you end up being within a few cents. So it's typically like a rate per 100. So maybe it's 15 cents per 100 of the construction cost. Then you'll see somebody else maybe 17 cents or 12 cents. I mean, let's say
$1 million house, what would a builder's risk insurance cost typically?
It's too hard to say that when it could be in Florida, where it's probably 3 times higher than it is in Ohio. And it also varies on the builder's approach to self-insuring, what a piece of that. So if you have somebody who wants a $5,000 deductible and you have somebody who wants a $50,000 deductible, those are different things that can cause a big, difference. If you're a builder that's doing custom homes somewhere here in the Midwest where I am, I would say we're typically seeing it's less than $2,000 a home. Maybe more like $1,500, it just depends. But there's a lot of factors to take into play in that too. So I would hate to box someone into that, because we also see, remodelers that have a $400 policy for their project.
Right. So do you write builder's risk for remodelers?
Mm-hmm. Remodelers, commercial contractors. We've done some interesting projects. Pools for hotels. We've covered any construction project should typically have builders risk.
So what would so you're going to do a $500,000 remodel in, I don't know, Ohio, what does that look like?
Cost wise?
Yeah, for like a remodeler. Do they have to, because they may not require it if they're not, let's say that the homeowner is going to finance it themselves. They're not going to borrow the money. But I should probably still have builder's risk, right, in case it goes sideways?
Yes, you will want to do that, or the homeowner may place builder's risk on a remodeling if it's that type of project. Often where we would see something like this is in a fix and flip scenario. So the owner is the remodeler after it's complete. For $500,000 of insurable value, we would expect that to maybe be like I'm going to assume a lot of these terms that we write are for a year, but sometimes they're 6 months, or that can vary too. But I would think we would be around maybe $800.
So now in a remodel, are you covering the whole house or just the part that's being remodeled? How does that work?
It's the total insurable value, which is the property and the estimated rental costs.
So if you've got
the entire house burns down, we still have to cover that too, not just the work that's being done in it.
Okay. How often do people actually claim on builder's risk? Is it very common?
It's far more common than it is on a general liability policy. Because of the things that can happen. And so if you think about general liability, there's a lot of manageable risks, right? There's what can I do for site safety, like the claim that you described earlier.
Right.
what can I do in my quality, how I vet my subcontractors, what their contract language says, so I can point things to their policies and not my own. There's a lot of proactive steps you can take in general liability and other types of insurance. Builder's risk is really like, how do you stop the hurricane from coming? You know,
Right.
it's things that are fairly unavoidable, and even the best contractors and builders have things happen. Of course, there are things you can do to ensure that that vacant home is well guarded and prevent vandalism, and there are things like that. But all in all, builder's risk is a lot less controllable, and that means that there are typically more losses than in other types of policies.
Now, in builder's risk, do you suggest how they mitigate their risk or not? Or you just, I mean, obviously, if you're in a hurricane area, to put up storm windows, do you do anything to mitigate the risk, or you just write the insurance and whatever they do, they do?
I mean, we can certainly make suggestions. It's not like other programs where you may have subjectivities based on those practices. But if somebody says like, hey, how can I make sure that I'm protecting, this project, then we're happy to hear that, and we're happy to help make those suggestions. But it's not the sort of stringent inspection process that you maybe see with other types of policies.
Sure. And where do you write builder's risk? All of you, in any state in the United States?
There are, so with the different programs that we have access to, it's always worth seeing if we can do it. And these days it is a moving target. There's not anybody out there who has the magic answer for every single project and in every single location. We can write in all 50 states. There may be times that we do need to consider the risk of a certain area. So no Florida contractor who is listening to this will be surprised to hear that Florida is a challenge. We have programs that are a little more focused on still writing in certain counties in Florida.
Is that because of hurricanes, I'm assuming?
Sorry, what's that?
Because of hurricanes in Florida?
Yes. But what can happen is capacity limits. So the insurer will be willing to write a certain amount of limits in an area, and where we may have capacity today, we don't tomorrow because enough insurance got written in. So it's always worth a try. But again, if you're in Florida, if you are in certain parts of California, you will have a harder kind of road to go down to get quality coverage right now.
Now, do you know, does the remodeler or the contractor usually pass the builder's risk insurance on to the client, or do they cover it themselves? Do you know?
It should be just like other insurance, cost of doing business that I would hope that they're passing on in their bids to their clients. We do see that homeowners will buy their own builder's risk in certain remodeling scenarios where they're the insured, it's their property, they're protecting it. The builder says you've got to get builder's risk. Like I said, so much of what we do in the remodeling world, reno world, is in that fix and flip scenario. So it's the owner is the
right. But even remodelers, so you work with remodelers and builders and anybody who's doing any major construction on a house, right?
Right, or commercial property.
Property. So I would suggest that the listeners, I mean, guess they're not going to go through 80 pages, let it go in 8, right? Not going to happen. And they're probably, a lot of them are using their local insurance agent, which may not be the best choice because they may not have the expertise you do. So if somebody listening to this podcast wants to get a hold of you and says, look, it's just, I don't even know what I don't know and what is and what isn't, and get like a little lesson for you on builder's risk and very insurance specifically for contractors, how would they get in touch with you?
So there's 2 ways. Sales@pwsc.com goes to my inbox as well as a couple others here. So it won't just go into the abyss or to some random sales rep. It does come to those of us who want to look at what's coming in and really just be responsive. So that's sales@pwsc.com. Just send us an email, or you can go to our website and find quite a bit of information and submit an inquiry there as well. And that's just pwsc.com. So the 2 easiest ways to do it.
Now, do you cover Besides builder's risk, do you cover everything a contractor needs, or what do you don't cover for a contractor? Like the car insurance?
You know, it's always worth talking to us about whatever your risk management needs may be. Because we have an interesting background. You know, we started with warranty. That is still a huge part of our business for home builders. And one that we're really proud of the long-term offering that we have there. But we are also part of a really big organization. PWSC is owned by PCF Insurance Services. They are one of the fastest growing insurance companies in the United States. And it's what's allowed us to offer some competitive coverages in builder's risk and general liability. But it also means that we have thousands of coworkers outside of what PWSC is for specialty thinking. So, I mean, I would encourage any risk management questions our way. We have a variety of other solutions that we offer. We've focused on builder's risk today, but we also have 30 years of history in doing warranty for home builders, a program we're really proud of there. We have general liability solutions. We're also owned by PCF Insurance Services, which is one of the fastest growing insurance companies in the United States. And that means that outside of PWSC, we have thousands of coworkers who specialize in a variety of things. PCF actually has a construction vertical called PCF Construction Services, where we can help with anything from subcontractor default insurance to work comp to cyber liability, which has been a hot topic that we've seen lately. So if we aren't the specialists, the good news is we are in a network full of them, and we can really help bring together a full risk management solution.
If someone, for example, things like I have a couple of contractors who've been, for lack of a better term, hacked. They sent $80,000 to the wrong person because they were sort of cyber hacked, and then they lost 80 grand. Is there insurance for that?
I'm not the cyber expert, and depending on if they were hacked or phished, that can be a different story. But cyber liability is a huge deal these days, and it is only becoming a bigger concern. We're seeing it even required in more of our commercial contractors agreements, because when they go into those facilities, there's just access to too much.
Because AI is getting smarter all the time for the bad guys and the good guys. So I've had several clients that have sent money to the wrong account, and it's just been a mess. So cool. Yeah. So they could call you and review all their insurance stuff if they wanted to, right?
Yeah. It may not be direct PWSC, but like I said, we are part of a giant organization that is really, really specialized in it.
Okay, so if you're a contractor and want somebody to go over all your insurances, they could call you and you could do that, right?
Absolutely. We would love that. We're kind of nerds about that stuff. So we'd enjoy it.
So I would suggest any contractor listening to this, a second opinion is always a good thing. And so I would recommend that you call these guys and have them go over your insurance, because you definitely don't know what you don't know in this case. You got to find some kind of trusted advisor. And these people specialize in contractors and thousands of contractors. So I suggest you give them a call and have them go over your insurance to make sure you've got what you think you've got, right?
Yes, we welcome that. And if you want our phone number as well, since you said the call, it's 800-850-2799. We will be happy to talk to you that way as well, or the email address I gave.
Okay. Thank you for being here. And if you're a contractor, I give these ladies a call.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.